My name is Angus Reid. I'm one of the senior risk advisors here at Reliance Insurance. And what we always try to do for our clients is help any way we can. And specifically, that's usually revolves around helping our clients protect and promote their brand, protect their people, which we realize usually results in driving profits. But we all know in times of crisis like we are today, what matters most is people. It all comes down to people and doing what we can to take care of the people that matter most to us. So today, that's what we're talking about. We're going to talk about the mental health and morale of the people that you work with, the people that are closest to you and around you every day. And we are super honored to have Alyson Jones with us today. Now, Alyson, I'm going to kind of read your bio because I don't want to miss anything out. But we are very fortunate to have a leading expert in this field. Alyson is a highly respected therapist, educator, and writer. She is an adjunct professor at Adler University and the clinical director at the Alyson Jones and Associates. She holds a master's in counseling psychology and has practiced as a therapist and mental health expert for over 20 years. So there's a lot of years here and a lot of experts. Yes. She's a regular on CTV, which we were discussing before we came on. She'll be on Monday morning, correct, Alyson? And you'll be able to get that through her links later. She is a regular, always talking on topical aspects in the space that we're discussing today. She's featured in the media frequently about using her knowledge around mental health and conflict resolution. She speaks at conferences North American-wide and delivers training across all of North America. And she's authored an award-winning book, More, a new philosophy of exceptional living. And we are so honored to have Alyson here today with us. She's got the next hour or so to run through best practices, tips, and actionable advice. We discussed this yesterday, and there's some really great stuff. And so before we do that, Alyson, I think we're going to lay some ground rules. If we can go to the next slide, we're going to sort of let you know how this goes. I know everybody's into the Zoom world now, and this is our new gathering, if we will. But this is how we're going to kind of do things. Alyson and myself will be on video the whole time. Each of you are muted, and we can't see you, but I can see your names. So you won't have the audio ability. At the end of the presentation, we're going to try to hold all of your questions for the end. If you feel like typing them in, just go to your chat button at the bottom. And if you put your chat in and make sure that you do it for all to hear, I will get them. And at the end of today, we'll have a Q&A where I can read through specific questions you might have. Maybe jot them down on a piece of paper first, because Alyson's going to be pretty thorough here and she might answer a lot of your questions before you get to them. So jot them down. And if you feel that there's still something that she hadn't addressed and you want to ask, make sure you put it in the chat in the back end, and we'll try to get to each and every one of you, your questions there. That's sort of it. So without further ado, I am really, really privileged to have Alyson here with us today. So Alyson, it's all you.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Angus. And thank you so much for the opportunity to come in and talk about this topic. It's something I've been interested in a long time anyways, is how we can support morale and mental health and, healthy workplaces, right? And then, COVID-19 hit. So it took on a whole new level of focus. And one of the things I say is, we are in the midst of a health crisis, a worldwide health crisis. And that also leads us to being in the midst of a worldwide mental health crisis, because mental health is health. It's all part of it. It works together. We can't really separate the two. Part of our physical health is very connected to our mental health, and part of our mental health is very connected to our physical health. So right now this is a focus. And one of the things that I've been very honored and very driven by in my career is to destigmatize these kind of conversations. And because now I'm, deeply into my career, those years that were mentioned before, I've been lucky. I've been fortunate to see such a shift where we're now having conversations in open ways that don't hold the same stigma and the same, hesitancy for people to talk about. In fact, many, many more people are coming out and talking about some of the challenges and some of the things that have worked and not worked for them. So I'm really pleased to be here and talking today. So I've got a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to go through. I welcome questions. once we get through that part. And so we'll kind of get into that. So the things I thought we would cover a little bit today are mental health matters. I'll talk a bit more about that. Brave new world, the world that we're moving into, how we keep morale up on a remote team, because that's one of the huge focuses right now. And we know that the higher the morale, the higher the productivity, the higher the success of the company, and higher the success and satisfaction of the people working within it. And then I want to do a piece at the end about leading into the unknown, because we were talking about how we really, this new world we're in is very much a fusion now. We have a fusion of our work life and our home life all coming into one. And how do leaders lead into a place that they're not familiar with? So I've just got some tips around that. So again, the learning objectives, they're all there. I think I've kind of gone over that, understanding mental health and strategies and some resources. There is a handout, by the way, too, or a document that does have resources, different links and things that I'll let people, that they'll be passing on, and that I won't be reviewing all of them, but they're there for you. So mental health matters. That was I actually just published another book. Well, I was co-author in it last year, 2019, and that was the name of the book, was Mental Health Matters, and it does matter. It matters a lot, and we have a lot more. We're more satisfied in our work and home life when we're attending to our mental health. So what is mental health? Well, mental health is a state of psychological and emotional well-being. It is it's a resource for living a healthy life and a part of our overall health. The thing is, it's not the same as mental illness. So when people are saying mental health, some people still have that reaction and talking about being mentally ill. Well, I mean, illness is just illness. We have it, whether physical or mental, but mental health is something different. It is that sense of that well-being and health within our emotions. The thing, though, is that poor mental health can lead to mental illness and physical illness too. So one of the things I wanted to say is stress has been an issue long before COVID-19 existed. And in fact, there's been some very interesting studies and things done for people who are high achievers, who are leaders, or who are very motivated to move up within companies, et cetera, entrepreneurs. And the stress has been taking its toll anyways. There's a lot of burnout and high stress. And there are studies that show that, it might lead to positive financial outcomes, but sometimes it leads to negative physical and mental health outcomes. So we want to look at this pause button we're having, and this whole rejigging that we're doing gives us an opportunity to look at this issue and kind of go, okay, we know there were some things that really weren't working that well. How can we fuse this in a different way? How can we balance this so that you can be successful, that you can be a great contributor, and you don't have to pay the costs of your health and well-being in order to do that. So yeah, that's one of the things that we really want to look at. So a sign of the times, right? We know that it's increased a lot of our mental health challenges and strains. We've all, I don't think there's hardly anybody that hasn't had some sort of significant change to their routine. And as we're talking about, balancing home life and work life has become very challenging. Not everybody wanted this. We didn't, some people wanted to work from home. Some people already were doing part of their work from home. But now we're in it whether we like it or not. And we're definitely dealing with different comfort levels in regards to that. It was kind of cute. I was saying the other day to my team, I was talking to my team, and there's been I come from this perspective as a mental health professional. I also operate a business. I have 10 therapists that work for me, and I have 3 staff. So I have my own team that I am guiding. This isn't just me looking from the outside in. I'm in it. But we were talking on my team, and we were all kind of having a chuckle about that we needed to we wanted to flatten the curve, but the curve we were talking about was the learning curve, right? Because there was just so many things for us to learn that were new, and things were changing daily, as they still are. But I mean, we wanted to just flatten out. We were all kind of exhausted. We're all dealing with financial constraints and losses. I mean, I don't know anybody out there that hasn't been impacted by this financially, and some more so than others. But even those that are working are, some people have lost jobs, and the people that are working sometimes are struggling with these ambivalent feelings around, I'm so grateful that I have a job, but holy man, is this ever hard to now balance all of this? And we know we have the uncertainty and fears of the unknown. So, talking about the unknown, it's a brave new world that we're heading into. We might as well look at it that way. It is going to take some courage. You know, courage, the word means to in your heart is what the word actually translates to, is in core, on our heart. So we need a world that we're kind of checking in with our heart to. So we're adapting, and nobody has all the answers. There's no expert in this. There's people that are bringing their expertise to this, but some things we thought were going to work didn't. Some things that we didn't think were going to work have, right? And we know that when there's still a lot of change going on, it's difficult. And we generally don't really want to change until it's necessary. Most of us. There are some people that are out there wanting to change all the time, very, very innovative. But lots of us are kind of going along. We don't change until we have to. Now we have to. But the thing is, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. We have this situation now, and we're all being more creative. We're all having to bring forth our, you know, different aspects of ourselves to respond to the situation. And like I said, technology has become a huge thing and lots of different comfort levels. But you know, I'm okay with it. It hasn't been my forte, but I use it enough that for what I need. And now I'm getting a lot better at it. And there's sort of a nice feeling in that. It's like, hey, this old brain can learn some new tricks. So one of the things in amongst all these changes, I really want to encourage leaders and workplaces and you know, businesses to keep mental health a priority. You know, understand that the stress is going on. Encourage resources if you have EAP or counseling. Destigmatize. That's part of what this conversation about. You know, it's part of a total health routine. That's what we're looking at. This is one aspect of it. And mental health is, you know, it might have been the physical health that people that prompted all this work at home, but mental health is important too, and we want to look for ways to support our teams. So let's talk a little bit about workplace morale. You know, Forbes describes it as basically, you know, people's satisfaction and during their association with an organization or business, how they're feeling, their outlook. And it definitely, we know it enhances our work satisfaction, our productivity, our state of mind. And it contributes to increased mental health. Not only is it a win-win, you know, it helps us personally, and it helps the business and the company that we're associated with. So when we have high morale, we have a lot more energy. So workplace morale and mental health are two different things, but they are very linked together, because morale can improve your mental health. If you feel really good about the place that you're working, the work that you're doing, the people you're connected with, it actually improves your mental health. And your mental health can really impact your morale and your ability to produce and your ability to show up. So what brings job satisfaction? This is always very interesting. And to me, this is one of the most fascinating things, right? Is there are some factors of things that we need to feel satisfied. People often think it's money, you know, pay people enough money and they're going to be satisfied, but it's not it. People need enough money, but, you know, too little money can really stress them out. But that's not the thing that just brings them satisfaction. And in fact, the studies they've done show quite the opposite. What they show is if you reward people just financially, you get, it does elevate your productivity for a short period of time. And then the productivity goes down, and actually the productivity is lower than where it started. So it goes up and then down. And the reason is people need more than money. Now, of course, like I said, if they don't have enough, then that's stress. But the things that really bring people, satisfaction is a sense of autonomy, space, so that they can do their work, that they're not being micromanaged, right? The opportunity for mastery, because we feel really good about ourselves when we do something well. So if our workplace allows us to master something, to improve at something, then we know we're going to have higher morale. And again, space for creativity, letting that special spark that's you come in and your ideas be valued. And then the last one being meaningful contribution. Because when we give and we contribute, it actually brings us great joy. There's an old Buddhist saying, which is that the greatest pain in life comes when we just concentrate on ourselves. But the greatest satisfaction and joy comes when we contribute to others. So if our work allows us to contribute to others, we know we're already much like far ahead in the morale department. So I encourage leaders when they're looking at how to build morale, how to lead their team, and what also put fire in their own belly, is look at some of those things and look for opportunities to increase those areas. So in general, kind of prior to COVID-19, these were some of the things: communicate often, get feedback, make firm business decisions, get an incentive program, acknowledge accomplishments. Those all still apply. It's just we're having to adapt some of them because your in-house techniques to increase morale may not always work with a remote team in the same way. We just have to adjust our tools and adjust our vision. So we do know that remote work was already significantly on the increase, and they were projecting about 50% of work was going to be remote anyways in many ways, and now that's just escalating even higher. So there has been a significant increase. A lot more people prior to COVID, I was hearing, we're doing 1 or 2 days at home and going into the office 1 or 2 days a week. And there was a variety of reasons for this. Technology allowed it. Sometimes it can decrease costs to the business because you don't have to have necessarily a business spot for every single employee every single day. So there was a lot of advantage to that, but we were still learning. Like I said, we still have to learn now how to encourage morale in our teams remotely. So we know in the studies that was showing us that there was sort of a disconnection. Sometimes people could feel out of the loop or voiceless or kind of lonely in some of the remote work that they did. So these are the things we want to look at. How can we keep people in the loop? How can we give them a voice? And how can we help them not feel lonely? How can they still feel part of a team? So this is just sort of an overview of keeping up morale. And I'm going to talk about some of these things in a little bit more detail. But we want to streamline communication. We want it transparent. We want to encourage feedback. One of the things about, in this stage that we're in, one of the things I really encourage is that share the feedback that you're getting. Let people know, hey, we found out that this great idea we had didn't really work and it kind of bombed, and we really appreciated you guys letting us know that. And now we're trying to adapt it and do this other thing. So when people know that their feedback matters, and even when it's difficult, we do not need to whitewash anything. We don't want to candy coat anything. In fact, authenticity and being real are going to much more bond us as teams than us trying to tell everybody everything's okay, right? And so we want to have space for feedback and hear what's working for people and what's not. In the end, we know we can't please everybody all the time. And we still have to make the decisions that we really feel are best for the business and best for the majority of the people. But people can be heard. And that's the thing, is people are drawn to where they feel heard and understood. So as a leader, if you create space in which the people that you're leading feel heard and understood, you can implement a lot of things as long as they feel that they really do have a voice. and they will be pulled towards you. They will be pulled towards that sense of meaningful contribution and that I matter here if they feel understood. So we don't want to shut people down. Different ways of doing this, right? We'll talk a bit more about that, but some people want to use an app or however we want to use it. We're learning as we go. Looking for ways to make scheduling easier to connect the remote workers, more predictable, being clear on expectations, trying to make it kind of fun, some team building games and activities, still focusing on performance. Remember that sense of mastery I was talking about? People feel good when they feel that they're doing well. So if we're focusing on how to support people in their performance and how to do well, in particular during this time, there is an incredible sense of achievement that comes from that. I always used to say, because I work a lot with families and stuff too, that, kids don't get high esteem because you tell them they're great. Kids get high esteem because they have a sense of accomplishment, because they did something. It's not something we can just give to somebody by telling them that they're great. We have to create opportunities for them to actually feel good about their own performance, because that can fuel a lot of positive growth personally and as a business. Don't micromanage. Remember that part I was talking about where people need autonomy? They need to feel that they are valued. Trust that the work will get done. Of course, you need your systems to check in, but if people feel like you're hanging all over them, or that they're having to do 4 Zoom meetings a day just so that they're accountable to you, that is going to discourage people. That's going to take people farther away from what the goal is. We need to give people space and some autonomy to make decisions and find out what's working for them. Look for ways to create that positive culture. What is happening today? What Reliance is doing today here? I just think that's a fabulous example of creating a positive company culture. This idea that we care and we want to support, and we're willing to look for the resources to do that. And that does trickle down. That's the kind of thing that just spreads through an organization, all the way from the very top to all the way out through the clients and everybody that is impacted. And give recognition. It feels good. It feels good when somebody is saying that we've done a good job. So tips, tips for leading into the unknown. We have, like I said, these unprecedented times, and we have people that are highly anxious, not knowing what's going on, including ourselves as the leaders. And it's hard to lead when you're not entirely sure what's behind that next mountain or that next thing, but we can just check in and try these different techniques and ideas and see, and know that we're learning as we go, and being honest about that with the people that we're leading. We don't have to have this all figured out. It's okay for us to say, that's not something I thought about. Thank you for bringing that up. Or it's okay to say that, this is something we're still trying to figure out how we're going to be able to do, because we are still figuring it out. So one of the things in this brave new world, right, is this expansion of thought that we're having. As I started out this conversation with the idea that, mental health is a part of this conversation. That's a change, huge change from 10 years ago, huge change from 5 years ago, and certainly even a change, a significant change from even 5 months ago, is that mental health is part of this conversation. So we want to make sure that team members' mental wellness is being provided for as well. And if you find some good resources, if you find something that works or something that encouraged you, send it out to the team. Do what we're doing today. When Angus reached out to me, and that idea of bring in the experts that know about certain aspects of wellness, and it can be all sorts of different kinds of wellness. Today we're talking about mental health. It can also be about stretching. It can be about focus and goal setting. It can be all sorts of things. Stay open-minded yourself, and don't be afraid to share your own challenges and the resources that maybe helped you, but do so in a role-appropriate manner. if somebody's stressed out and you're having a conversation with them, it's okay to say and let them know that you too have had some struggles with that, but you don't want to take over that situation. And then all of a sudden they're kind of going, I don't feel heard. And maybe it feels like too much coming from the person that I thought I could lean on. And now they're, fully leaning on me. We can lean on each other. We can do that, but there is relief sometimes in being able to just be heard and have somebody hold space for us. So just keep that in mind. I don't want it to shut anybody down, but I just want people to stay really sensitive, I guess, to people's boundaries and what feels appropriate. Kindness, compassion, and coordination, right? Consistency helps us. If we know what to predict, if we know we're having our team meeting at 10 o'clock on Thursday mornings and we're having our individual meeting, Tuesdays at 3, whatever it is, like, it helps us structure things, and structure relieves anxiety. That is a straight across the board thing. The less structure we have, the more anxious humans get. Now, we don't want to structure ourselves to, out of our creativity, but we do need structure in place. We need to check in with our team. Is the structure that we're trying to create working for them or not? But we know we need it. That way it also feeds into the other part I was talking about. We're keeping people looped in, being clear on expectations, all of those kind of things. If you're leading a team, do some one-to-one check-ins. Don't just rely on full team meetings to see how people are doing. Many people will not bring up concerns or share anything private or anything, even their thoughts about team decisions. They get very quiet sometimes. So make sure you're having those one-to-one times. Create opportunities for staff to connect in fun ways. Look for that. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Stay compassionate, kind, hold a space for listening. Be forgiving if people are irritable. I certainly went through a period, I'm not as irritable now, thank goodness, but about 3 weeks ago, when I felt like everything was changing every day, and I was definitely finding myself more irritable with my family, with some of my team, and I was like, but we just have to forgive each other a little bit, and one of the things I say is we don't actually have time here. It's a waste of time to be all defensive and, forget that. Let's just let ego go right now and not waste our time in being defensive. And if we need to correct something or we need to say sorry, it's not a big deal. Just do it. The amount of energy we waste trying to not do it is ridiculous sometimes. So it's time to get over ourselves that way, and be able to share some of the vulnerabilities and coordinate compassion across the company. So I said, kindness, compassion, coordination, all good things. Communication, stay in regular contact. Everybody you talk to is going to be saying that. But one of the things I want to say is keep email communication clear, concise. I know myself, when I open an email right now, and I've been getting lots of emails, and it's long, I just get that sinking feeling in my stomach. Oh my God, no, right? So just keep it as concise as you can. Try to be, one of the things I think is being a great leader is that you're a funnel. You take a lot of information that you might be privy to, and you bring it down and you pass on that piece of information that's important to the person you're talking to or sharing it with. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to share every single piece of information that you have. You need to share some of the things, be that funnel for people. So keep your emails in check, because emails are stressing people out and exhausting them. So clear, concise, clear direction, right? Do not give your feedback if you have concerns with somebody in an email, right? Do that in person. Schedule a time, schedule a regular check-in, and then follow up with that. If you're having team meetings, have some space, or any meeting. It can be a one-to-one meeting where you check in about, how people are doing, social conversation a little bit. I start out every one of my team meetings checking. I always started out checking in with my team. How are they doing? What's going on? What are they finding? And I can feel how that's meaningful to my team. So be clear on your expectation goals. If we don't know what to expect, people are not going to perform well. They're not going to be aware. They're going to feel lost, right? That's a roadmap. Expectations are a roadmap. So give out the roadmap to people. And again, schedule those one-to-one meetings to track progress, and also deal with any things that come up, clear up any confusions, and also it really can be an incentive. Remember, as much as we can thrive under positive attention. So if our leader is giving us positive attention, giving us some of their time, it boosts that morale and it kind of gets us going. So like I said, check in. If you're concerned, don't do it by email, do it in a one-to-one. Do not put anybody on spot in a team meeting. Follow up separately afterwards. It's okay to ask people how you're doing. I've had some people ask me, oh, Alyson, this isn't my area of mental health, I'm the leader in this, will I open up like a floodgate if I ask people about how they're doing or how their feelings are and stuff like that? And I'm like, no, don't. Like, people will know what they appropriately want to share with you. And the information that comes will help guide you as to how much you can talk with somebody too. Be intuitive, read their reaction. If they don't want to share anything, that's fine. But if they do, remember how I said it helps them feel more understood, and the more understood they feel, the more invested in the team they're going to feel, and in you as a leader. Vulnerability does connect us, but don't pressure anybody. Like I said, respect people's boundaries. Start the day, your meetings, in a mindful manner. Take your own time in the morning. Maybe go for a walk, breathe, do whatever is meditative for you. Have a quiet cup of coffee. Angus and I were talking about, just before we kind of came on this, we were talking about how time really is changing. That we used to be all up so early and might be watching the morning news, because I was saying, even though I'm doing CTV, it's at 7:10 in the morning, and I said, who's going to be up at 7:10 in the morning right now? Because we used to be up at 7:10 because we were getting ourselves ready to go and getting in our car and wanting to be at the office by 9. Now it's a little bit different, because to be in the office by 9 sometimes means I've had a shower, brushed my hair and my teeth, and I walk downstairs. So time is different, but you can use that time in a really positive way. Going for a walk is so like a great way to start your day. And we live in a beautiful place, and we've been very fortunate in our ability to get outside, and sometimes just having that cup of coffee. So when you start your meeting, just kind of be mindful of your own self. If there's something you can bring to the team in a mindful manner that creates positive intentions. Check in with people, allocate time, talk about what books they're reading. I've had a lot of fun talking with people about the Netflix shows that they're watching, and sharing, some good laughs about some of the shows, and just some, oh my goodness, I found this great one. People enjoy that. We always enjoy sharing the books and shows that we're watching, and we love it when we hear that somebody else has read or watched that too and found it interesting. It's just a great feeling. Focus on gratitude, especially when we're overwhelmed. It's one of the things that really helps us through overwhelm. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if a member of the team's feeling overwhelmed, don't whitewash it, but look for something to feel grateful for, and let them know what you're grateful for about them, because that will really help the overwhelm pass. Overwhelm doesn't stay. That's a great thing with any emotion. It has movement to it. It comes, it can feel very strong and overwhelming, but it moves. So you're never going to feel what you're feeling all the time. Movements always change, feelings always change and move. Use online tools, find the things that work. Sometimes sharing pictures. One of the things we did in our team was, we all shared our picture of our space at home, of where we were doing our meetings from, our sessions from. And that was quite fun to see. I hadn't seen into everybody's kind of home, and it was fun. We got to see pictures of their pets, or the cat sitting on the, computer or whatever. It was just that kind of stuff kind of cheers us up. Looking for ways to have virtual happy hour, tea time, coffee breaks, things like that. Sharing virtual backgrounds and stuff. But interesting enough, I was just reading some research, because now this is all, everybody's got Zooming and the virtual backgrounds, is that there's a little bit of a backlash to some of the virtual backgrounds. People tend to like people's homes and their own background better, because sometimes people are tending to have a little bit of a reaction. It's like, oh, what are they hiding when they've got that virtual background up all the time? But if you play with it in a fun way, it can be kind of a fun tool to do. My team and I were actually doing this on Wednesday morning because for some reason my computer won't let me do a virtual background, but it makes me look like I'm in outer space or something. And so we were getting a good laugh out of that. So it was fun. Um, small doses of team bonding throughout the week can boost morale. And I say small because remember, people need to get their work done. Sometimes we have to be careful that we're not overdoing it so much and putting in so many meetings to support people that we're actually not leaving them time to get their work done. And that's part about checking in with people about what they need and how they work best. So celebrate, right? Don't stop celebrating just because we're not seeing each other in the office in the same way. Look for things, birthdays, anniversaries, send virtual cards. Acknowledge and celebrate personal and professional accomplishments. Celebrate when something good happens in the world. With my team, I have twins, and they just turned 21 on Sunday, and it was really fun because my whole team ended up really celebrating that. I didn't realize how much they were going to kind of give back to me, and they were just like, "That's so amazing! Like your twins are 21 now," and I got lots of great wishes for them, and it just felt good. It felt like, again, that meaningful contribution, that meaningful connection with people. When something good happens in the world, celebrate it, right? We need that. We need to look at the good things, and there are good things. If we're looking for good things, we will find good things. Recognize team members, send out those virtual cards or, something. Have contests, make it fun, can make, pet contest to, whatever it is. Like if you can think of ways just to kind of, if you know your team and what might get them kind of having a good time. And you can even play with it, have a friendly competition, use humor. Humor is one of the best things about humans. In our big prefrontal cortex, part of our brain allows us to have humor, and we can laugh, and laughing is so good for us. So be playful, think about it. You can even send out things like an Amazon gift card or food delivery or things. Those are some of the incentives right now that a little can go a long way. And the great outdoors, don't forget, fitness centers, gyms, they're closed, etc. People cooped up. We want to get people outside, and we're lucky, like I said, in a place that we can do that. Let people encourage them to have their Zoom meeting with you out on their patio if they can. Do a walk and talk, right? Another thing, have it on the phone sometimes, a meeting, if it just to change it up a little bit. And encourage people to take breaks, right? Because sitting at our computer all day is really, really hard for us, and encourage people to get outside. So be flexible as you can be. Of course, make sure that your policies are upgraded to align with provincial and federal legislation, what your sick policies are, support policies, what your contingency plan are if you have sick leave or downtime, and what are the resources that the company provides, is there EAP, etc. And so just look for the flexibility, because I think that's a really important right now. So that's sort of the end of my more formal part of the presentation, but I'd like to end up with saying humans are resilient. We will bounce back. We adapt, we learn, we grow. It's actually one of the most lovely and amazing things. So even if you are at times feeling overwhelmed, do trust. We've survived everything till now, and we're going to continue to do so. So thank you. Okay, I think Angus is back on with us. Now I can't hear you, Angus.
You can't hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Oh,
Great.
I think it takes a split second for the mute to unmute itself.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to make sure I was muted and off screen because I was scribbling down copious notes throughout this. Really, really, really great stuff, Alyson. I thank you so much for sharing some, as we think, might be common sense, but we forget in a hectic world how important it is to just check in, to see how we're doing, to make sure we don't forget to have a little fun with real things and understand that we're all people, and we all have things that matter to us, and showing that you care goes a very, very long way. Before we jump into any specific questions, I know there's some general ones. We had about 10 or 12 that we talked about the other day, and we sort of pared it down to some, maybe some big global ones that I know are concerning to a lot of leaders. And I think you addressed this a little bit, but maybe you can dive a little deeper into the concern a leader might have for asking somebody about their mental health condition. You know, sort of the, how do you best go about that, and when do you, what is too much to dive into in terms of asking somebody how they're doing or where they're at, or any tips on how to navigate that question.
Right. And you know, that's, and I think it is important, and it is a concern. We don't, you know, necessarily want to trigger people, but the thing I encourage people is that asking them how they're doing is not going to trigger them. You can do it in a casual way and see what people come forward with, and then kind of adapt your next response to that. So when you're having, especially like that one-to-one time, you know, it's like, so how have you been doing? How are things going? How are you finding this? And people will generally start to share. They might say, you know, it's been hard because I really don't have a great workspace in my home. It's not quite big enough. And sometimes that, you know, and then you let them talk. And it doesn't generally trigger them. What triggers people sometimes is to feel like they're like being treated like a robot, right? You know, being vulnerable with somebody doesn't trigger them. You can ask them, especially if they start to open up a bit, and they might say, yeah, it's been really, really hard. And you might say, you know, is there any support or anything I can do to help you with that? Like, is there anything that I might be able to help with? And, you know, and I'm here and I care, and I'm listening, and, you know, you're an important member of this team, and your contributions really matter. So if there's anything I can do to support you, and that alone, you know, some people might have some specifics, some might just be the fact that you said that.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that is important. You don't have to be the expert on this to care about somebody, and to
You
just
don't.
show that you care by asking how they're doing. And then
Yeah.
ideally, if they do open up, you can direct them hopefully to somebody that has the skills either internally or externally that could give them
Right.
the support they need, right?
Exactly.
I think that's powerful. What about small business owners? I know we do have a lot of people on the call right now that run big businesses, and they have, you know, large staff that they have to look after, and this has been wonderful. There's a lot of small business owners too, and some of them are almost alone, and then they're out there doing what they can to service their clients. I know you spoke a little bit about self-care, but what can and should they be doing in these times to maybe even take care of themselves, or their very, very small team?
Well, and I think that's really important. We can't forget that, right? There's a large population out there of people who are sole proprietors and are running their own business, and it's really hard, really struggling, or they maybe have a very, very small team. And what I encourage is look for the people that are your colleagues in those cases, and look to maybe form some groups, some support groups for each other, right? Like, even if you're just on your own, you know, if there's somebody that you're connected with, because we all have connections, we all have networks, and so look for that network. And it doesn't have to be that they work in the exact same field as you either. It can be, but it can be that there's somebody you met and you become friendly with at a networking event, and you both run smaller businesses or small sole proprietor, and utilize each other. You know, get yourselves on a coffee talk at least once a week. Do those things where you do feel that you're not alone. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I think really well said, because this is a human issue we're dealing with, and nobody's immune to it, and it's not
Yeah.
industry specific. We're dealing with people trying to take care of people, and I think you're right. It's a matter of realizing that nobody's alone in this, and the more we reach out for people, the more we can gather strength from each other. I think that's
Absolutely.
brilliant.
Yeah.
So here we are today of doing everything like this now. It seems that the norm has become Zoom, and using
Yeah.
technology, which is, we discussed, is wonderful that we have this ability to stay connected. But is there danger in going all in on this, and making this now your entire day, where you're staring at your screen trying to connect with people? And how do we manage keeping some sort of balance here so we don't get burned out from this?
Well, and I think this is one of the things that people haven't been talking a lot about, but I think we're going to be now soon talking about more of it, is that there really is becoming a Zoom overload, an online overload. You know, people's exhaustion levels are very high. And what's interesting to me for myself is, if I was seeing clients in my office, and let's say I saw 7, 8 clients in a day, that's fine. It doesn't make me tired. When I do Zoom sessions with my clients, about 4 Zoom sessions in, I feel like I've seen 8 clients.
Right.
Like it's a different feeling. And so we're trying to figure out some of why that's occurring. And, one of the things I would just say on a practical level is, do mix it up a little bit. Sometimes it just feels good to have a phone call now, right? Rather than
Right.
just always be on Zoom. Just look for other ways as well. And it's so, and we have to be careful that we're not just demanding people's time through Zoom all the time. And we're also using Zoom socially, or Zoom, or whatever platform people are using. Like, so we're connecting with our family and friends that way too. So we're kind of on it a lot. But the thing I would say, there's a few little things is what we found is if you're dealing with people like right now, our faces are like, my face is big to all of you. And we're not used to being in people's faces like this, right? Like that's one of the things. If you were in the real, like if we were together and we were in each other's face like this, it'd be weird, right? Like it's like we're getting exhausted by being so close in our faces. So one of the things they're really suggesting is that you start to move, you mix up even how you
Okay.
sit with your Zoom, and you give people a little bit more body language so that they can see how you are. And in fact, start trying to just mix it up a little and have a Zoom session where you're all kind of sitting at a distance and you can see each other's body language again. And you can even play with that and make it kind of fun, right? And the other thing they're sort of saying sometimes is part of the exhaustion level is that we're looking at ourselves so much, right? Because
Yes.
right now I can see myself and I'm kind of like, oh man, I don't know. And we don't do that in the other world. We're not sitting there in a meeting with a mirror looking at ourselves the whole time. So sometimes they're saying, try to block yourself in your Zoom meeting or whatever it is, just so it gives you a break. And so there's little tips that we're learning to help us with the Zoom overload. But it's going to be interesting because I think that's going to be an area, it's an area I'm very fascinated about, right? And because I do my sessions as well by Zoom, I think I'm going to come up with some more insights about that. But I find it very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating, and you're right. We're all talking heads now. We're
Yeah.
all the weatherman, and we're looking at ourselves being the weatherman, which we're not used to doing. And I think there's a whole different level of stress
There
knowing
is.
that your big face is looking at yourself, and we all judge ourselves, and now we have to stare at
Yeah.
ourselves. And you're right;
Exactly.
it's not a
No.
natural way we've gone about conversing. And you're right about phone calls. My parents are almost 80, so we FaceTime with them so they can see the grandkids, but they just call. They would rather just talk on the phone because that's what they're comfortable with. And it's funny. It's almost a nice break for me just to be able to converse verbally rather than making sure you're either looking at them and not looking away. And did they catch you not paying attention because you weren't looking at them? And
Yeah,
interesting. And you're right. I think it's an evolving reality that we're going to be figuring out
we are.
new best practices and new ways to make this not an added stress, but hopefully an alleviation of some
Yeah,
stress to keep communication up. I think it's brilliant.
exactly.
Really, really good stuff, Alyson.
Yay.
Right now, I'd like to open up to chats, to questions. If anybody has anything here, this is kind of how we're going to do it. You can raise your hand in the Zoom location. If you guys are familiar doing this, you know how to do this. I just figured this out the other day, but if you go to your name, it's going to give you options and you can just put your hand up. You can write down your chat if you want. You can type it and I can read it out. That's probably the easiest way not to create a bunch of people talking over each other. So you raise your hand up, I'll see you. If you want to quickly type any specific questions for Alyson or comments, I can facilitate getting that message to her right now, if there's anything. And I think, Alyson, this is going to be great because hopefully everyone's going to be able to follow you from this point forward. And I know you're going to keep updating, as we said, things you're learning even as we navigate this new frontier of digital relationships and digital communication. And hopefully we understand something that I think as humans we've struggled with always is balancing anything and not going all in on the new thing because we think we have to and burning out on that and then getting exhausted from it and finding a way to balance what we need to do versus what we also should be doing in terms of
Yeah.
taking care of ourselves and not going all in on the other option, which right now seems to be Zoom everywhere.
Mhm.
Anybody? Let me see. Do I see any faces? No. I have more. No, doesn't seem to be questions, which is
Apparently, I
okay.
answered everybody's questions.
Well, it means you've done such a fantastic job. Uh,
Mm.
but what I want to suggest too, if there's still nothing, we'll be able to keep this open for a little bit as we start wrapping things up. One of the big things we at Reliance here is we always, again, are trying to bring solutions to our clients, and we are always trying to help in any way we can. And our job, oh, we do have Chris Balls just raised his hand here, so I'll be able to bring Chris in. Hold on a sec. You know what? We can ask Chris. You know what? I've just unmuted you, Chris, so you can actually verbally ask on your own way there.
Oh, great. Thank you. First of all, Alyson, that was very insightful, and really appreciated how you approached this and kind of got me, with an organization thinking about ways that we can look to people and understand them better, as well as some really simple actionable items that we can take advantage of. So well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there was a question from someone in the general chat from Dagmar. And he asked, what's the advantage to being online with regards to having more vulnerable conversations with your colleagues/leaders around mental health and personal circumstances?
That's actually a really good question, because there are some, even the nature of it, it's interesting that this distance that we have in some ways can make us really connect, because we're having to be so intentional in our conversations. We're not just running, meeting each other at the water cooler, right? Like, we're having to be intentional now. And so the online platforms can allow people to actually share things in a way that they might not always share, given the regular workplace, because it's a different kind of feeling. And I said also, when I was talking about this, we're kind of closer to each other. We're kind of physically, even though we're really far, we're like right here with each other. So there's this kind of feeling of intimacy that can kind of come with it too, and closeness. So I believe that the online world can gives us a little bit of distance in a way that can actually bring us together closer. And also the fact that this is something we are all experiencing. So there's an immediate connection that makes that happen. And because we have this kind of crisis going on, there is this point of connection where we can kind of always speak from it. We can say, how are you doing now? How do you feel about this thing that's just happened, etc. So that's a really good point.
No, and a great answer. We're just waiting to see if any other ones pop up. I know Andrea's helping, making sure the private messages get through. We're open here. Yes?
Just one question, Alyson. Just my thoughts are, I think you made a good point on, saying don't make people feel micromanaged with constant check-ins and whatnot. What is a frequency level that is reasonable in your opinion?
Well, I think, we have to, it's good, because it depends on some of the nature of the work too, right? Like, it's hard to give a blanket because different nature, different work. But I know even with my team, like, we're having a weekly check-in, right? And with my actual therapist team. And then we're having smaller check-in teams that are working on different projects. So we're having sort of the big one, and then there's teams, and then I'm trying to have maybe once a week a one-to-one with somebody. So we do have to watch that we're not over-conferencing people, overdoing it. And one of the things people can have a reaction to is this idea of, gee, I used to do some remote work from home, but they weren't checking on me all the time. Now they want me to, be saying, I'm on at this time, I'm off at this time, I'm having my coffee break at this time, I'm doing this. And we have to really be careful with that, because honestly, that can reduce productivity in people if they feel over managed. So I kind of say, in general, maybe a weekly or bi-weekly bigger team meeting, project-based meetings, and then maybe if you have time, even a quick check-in once a week with people.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for that. I think that's powerful too. When we talk about Zoom, maybe burnout, and we talk about the length of these meetings, do you find that you would keep them shorter than you traditionally would if they were in person because of the stress of adding this technology and unfamiliarity for people?
Yes, absolutely. I would really encourage that on so many levels, and it's better I would much rather have a meeting that was a little too short than have a meeting that was a little too long, honestly. And what we have to watch is that these don't become platforms where some people might just dominate the meeting and other people are sitting there going, oh my God, we're an hour into this, hour and a half into this, and I need to get my work done, right? Because if you're stressing people out by not giving them adequate time to actually do their work because they're so busy either listening to something that isn't meaningful to them in a meeting or feeling that they're being checked in about, that will decrease again productivity. So keep your meetings shorter. You'd rather, if there was too much to fit in, awesome, you can schedule another meeting. It's
Right.
really okay, but do less. Less is better.
And any rabbit holes you want to go down personally, save that for the personal follow-up meeting, and not burden everybody with a longer Zoom session that doesn't allow them to get back to work. Right.
Exactly.
I think that's brilliant. We missed the slide here that we skipped through it, that Alyson has her article that we will get out to everybody. I think we can go back, Alyson, this one. There's a full article on this that you've written, and you write a lot of stuff and provide a lot of content, and we'll show you at the end how to follow you and how easy it is to stay up to date with all of your insights. Right. We'll get this article out to all the registrants that are here today to make sure that they have a deeper dive into this, that they can digest it. Some people love to read and take their time to really absorb it all. I think that's wonderful, Alyson. And just so you guys know, our clients do know that this is what we always try to do at Reliance. We're trying to bring best practices across the board for everyone out there to help where we can. And this is such a topical, needed subject that we knew this was the first way to really get after this. And just so you know and get prepared for, we're going to be doing this frequently, bringing topics that are relevant to dealing with this reality that we're all facing right now, and trying to bring experts in from multiple vantage points that we can aid and assist in navigating through this time. And as we said, as we spoke about before we came on, Alyson, not until we can get back, but to keep us moving forward. And there's no going back to the way life was. There's navigating forward into where we're going. And that being said, we are an insurance broker, and our job is always to look at the risks that our clients may be facing, also from an insurance perspective. And one of the ripple effects of this pandemic has been the rise in cyber attacks for our clients, and cyber compromised systems by people out there doing what they can, sitting at home maybe more often, and attacking your cybersecurity. And the big question we are always trying to do is, how can we keep our clients as strong as possible right now, mitigating their vulnerabilities so we can navigate through this. And cyber has become a big issue. So if you want to discuss your strength in terms of cyber protection right now, and best practices that we can help, and also transferring to insuring some of that risk, that's a conversation that we're here to have, and we would love to have with our clients right now. Reach out to your given advisor if you have one with us right now to discuss anything that we can do, but cyber has become very topical. Or just reach out to Reliance in general at our website. We have all the information here. You can just call 604-255-4616 and ask to speak to any of the advisors. We're always here to help. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, we're on Twitter. And we will also now make sure that we keep providing you with Alyson's updates. And I think, Alyson, do we have your slides so they can follow you directly too? We'll be forwarding all this on, but some people want to get on this right now. There's your website there, general emails, info@alysonjones.ca. And again, Alyson, you're on CTV Monday morning, this Monday, correct?
Monday morning, 7:10 in the morning. But
7:10.
I was going to say too, if people, I didn't put it on my slide, I forgot to do that. But if people are wanting sort of updates, one of the best one is they can just follow Alyson Jones and Associates on Facebook, or on my LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn profile, Alyson Jones, and I will always put up my TV appearances and the articles. I have a blog on my website. So if there's other resources, there's a lot of resources on that blog. So if people ever want to look at that, if they're interested, they're most welcome to.
Wonderful. Just a wealth of resources you are, Alyson. And we are, again, so honored that you took the time to join us today so we could get this out to our clients and the people out there that are concerned about this, which everybody is, and to be able to have your insights has just been invaluable. So on behalf of Reliance Insurance, I can't thank you enough once again, Alyson, and I hope we continue this relationship. And I hope everybody listening got as much as I did out of this, and I'm sure you did, and there's actionable advice and things that we can implement right now, I think, to take care of our people better. Because in times of crisis, we're reminded what matters most, and it's our people, and it's people in general. So again, thank you, Alyson. We'll make sure we get this information out, or whatever our clients want from us regarding this, and we'll keep you guys, everybody, in touch. And we are here to help any way we can. And again, you'll be hearing from us again soon, as these will be ongoing Zoom webinars, as we call them now, to keep you updated on everything we can to help. So thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and we're leading into the weekend. And remember, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay positive. And we're all going to keep going forward here. Take care.
We are resilient. We will go forward.
You got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.